super excited to have you here. I'm especially excited to have Julia Marino here. She is absolutely amazing. I mean, born and raised in Westport, Connecticut, right next to where I was born and raised in New Canaan, Connecticut. And she's an X Games superstar, absolutely incredible. But she's a snowboard, a slopestyle. She was in the 2018 Olympic Games, but then in 2022 in Beijing, she won a silver medal. She was the very first medalist for the USA team. Absolutely incredible, super exciting to watch. I checked it out. Anyway, she had 3 wins this season. She's been on the podium 12 times in her career. She's got 8 World Cup wins. And best of all, she won the Crystal Globe this year, which makes her the best damn person in her sport on the planet. 8 billion people, nobody better than her. Amazing. She's currently training for next season, and I'm super excited to have her here. Welcome, Julia.
A slopestyle run is generally 6 pieces, so it's usually 3 rails into 3 jumps in some type of order. They mix it up. It's usually between 6 and 7 features. I obviously visualize the whole run before I drop in, but then once I'm in the run, I'm just flowing through the run. For me, the most important part is getting past the first feature. The first feature is what starts the momentum. It starts the flow. It's what gets me warmed up, and I feel like after that, I kind of just get into the rhythm, the muscle memory of the run I've been doing the past 3 days in practice. I don't think okay, now this. Okay, now this. I just I'm really all right, let's do this first feature, and then from there it's just going to flow, and that's just how I kind of think for all of my contests.
Nice. So at the Olympics itself, tell me a little bit about the experience in Beijing. Was it something where you're in a, I mean, this isn't Switzerland, it's not some of the other, whether it's European or even American or Canadian hills, this is Beijing. What did you think of the conditions there? I remember when I watched it, it seemed like it was brutally cold, wasn't it?
Yeah, Beijing wasn't that awesome in terms of conditions, just because, well, for one, the snow wasn't even natural. It
Yeah.
was completely man-made snow, which gave it a weird texture, and because it was so cold, that it was basically water, so it froze. So the whole course was rock solid. One of the most
Wow.
firm courses I've ever hit, which makes things a lot scarier, because the risk of injury when you fall is a lot higher because it hurts a lot more to fall on ice than it does on snow.
Sure.
So that actually factored into my run a lot because it was so icy, and so there's there's typically 4 rails in the first run, and then or the first row of features, and then the second row is another 4 rails. Normally you can kind of, if I want to take the furthermost right, I can cut to the furthermost left rail, but because it was so icy, I had to take a straight line. I had to take, because if I was carving too much, I was going to slip out on the ice,
Yep.
which is what a lot of people were doing. So I had to factor that into my run, actually. And it changed. I hit every single feature on that course, and I think it changed my run 16 times. It was, so I was I need to pick the perfect run, but that really narrowed down my options in terms of the rails, because I just had to pick 1 row of features, because I was slipping every time, and so was everyone else. That you could see there was a blue pool of ice basically in between the 2.
Wow. That's
so.
I mean, and look, so some people will say, well, look, everybody, all the competitors are faced with the same challenges, right? So everyone's on a level playing field. But on the other hand, it's a little unfair. I mean, it's unfair only because none of you have been practicing on that sort of,
Yeah, I think I definitely find it a little bit sort of just not insulting, but just in a way there's all these mountains out here that have beautiful natural snow.
Yeah.
And it's not really often that you get to, utilize that. And I think for them to have completely bypassed that and wasted 250 million something gallons of water to make snow when there's plenty of it in other places was kind of sad. But I mean, that's just the cards were dealt, and you just have to roll with it. I think snowboarders are really good at adapting, because our sport is so on top of it being less accessible than most sports, it's also it's really variable. There's so many varies out. Like weather plays a huge factor. You know, we could come to a contest and there's like 80-mile-an-hour of wind, and we either vote, do we want to do it or do we not want to do it? If the majority wants to do it, then we all have to just kind of suck it up and hope and pray that we don't fly away and when we hit the jump, you know. So I think snowboarders are really resilient in terms of dealing with adverse conditions because our sport isn't in a controlled environment. It's not indoors. It's not in an arena. It's not, you know, there's so much weather at play. There's heat, there's cold, there's ice, there's snow, there's rain, there's wind. There's so much going on that we just have to kind of roll with at every time. And even the course itself, those jumps that were like this, no one has ever hit jumps like that since the last Olympics, which was 4 years prior. And no one had ever hit jumps like that before that Olympics. So the only time any of us had ever hit those sideways jumps was at the last Olympics one time. So like we just are constantly dealing with these interesting things that they just throw at us, and we're like, okay, I guess we're doing that.
It's kind of like it's like American Ninja Warriors, right? You never know what kind of random little thing will be thrown at you. That's pretty wild.
We go to these parks thinking that we're going to be practicing for what they're going to have, and then they put in something that no one's ever seen or even hit before. So it's pretty funny.
Wait till they have action snowboarding, which is going to be that someone's going to be rolling these big giant balls of hay at you while you're doing it and stuff like that. You're going to be dodging stuff on the way down. That's my next.
I'm sure they're close to that.
That's pretty funny. So, you know, one of the things that I was doing the other day when I was out on the mountain was you know, I also landed a cab 900 double underflip, and it was so easy to do. You know, it was pretty easy. All right, I'm gonna give you my quick little my story. I did try you know, snowboarding years ago. I'm a skier, and I suffered like 74 concussions and got completely soaking wet, and so that was the end of my snowboarding career. But I might consider it again if you give me a lesson someday.
Yeah, I would love to. But yeah, concussions are no joke. I've known a few people that can't snowboard anymore because of the amount of concussions. So it's crazy that that's the concussions are like the biggest. You know, can't mess with that.
No, you can't. But speaking of which, you know, is there, you know, you mentioned earlier about, you know, the proper way to fall kind of a thing. Assuming some of the people watching and listening are, let's say, I'll say amateur or fairly new in snowboarding, in your opinion, what's the best way to fall or brace for impact, or is there?
How do I explain it? I feel that there are times when I can see obviously that I'm falling, and I'll kind of tuck myself so I can sort of roll to my back. Like, you know, when you see parkour people, you know, they'll jump from a high, you know, area they'll maybe jump like 15 feet down, and they'll roll at the impact so that it minimizes the impact to their legs. It's kind of similar. You just kind of want to sort of tuck and roll if you're getting, I mean, some impacts you can't avoid. You know, sometimes you're going to land on your face and you can't avoid it. But there are certain ways to catch yourself if you feel like you're going to, you know, fall pretty good. So it's kind of something that you just build up over time after, you know, jumping and falling. It's just something that kind of is a natural thing that you build with, you know, learning new tricks.
You know, it's funny when I was doing karate and judo and so forth, especially judo, they do teach you how to fall and how to brace, you know, how to make the fall less impactful on you. So it's interesting, but it is something that I think becomes more natural once you've done it a couple thousand times, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
But, you know,
yeah,
so
it's like you can't really teach. I feel like you can't really teach it. You just have to kind of fall a few times and learn from there.
eventually the face plants become less face planty. Hey, quick question. You know, Matt Wolf was asking, what is the significance of your necklace there? Or do you have one?
Oh, well, it's an aquamarine stone. I got it recently. I got it after my my dog passed away. I had 2 dogs. I actually have another necklace that I'm wanting to. It's like a little pearl necklace that has his ashes in it as well, but it's not here yet. But it's all he like loved the ocean and he loved water, and so it just felt like something close to that. But also just like the representation of water, kind of just being like water, kind of flowing through things, not letting obstacles sort of, control you or get in your way. Just finding, like, water always finds a way through, even if there's a big rock or a stick or anything in the way. So just kind of having that sort of significance and symbolization for my life.
Wow. Who knew
Yeah.
how deep a necklace would be? That's great. Great question, Matt. Matt knows everything, though. And then Joe wants to know: do you have plans for your own brand at some point? In other words, instead of a Prada or some of the others, I mean, is there something that we can expect from you at some point?
I do. I would love to have my own brand at some point. I haven't put much thought or effort into doing it, but I would love to. I really like art. I'm super into art and drawing. I actually have a bunch of sketchbooks, and I also have an iPad with a stylus and like that app that you can draw stuff on. But I do really want to design my own clothing at some point, and maybe gear too, but with my own drawings on it. I actually did a few hoodies that I embroidered with my own art on them and gave them to friends, and yeah, they
Oh,
really liked it.
cool.
So, but
Wow.
that was just like, I just did that for fun, and then I haven't done it since. But also, I don't really have space in my truck to travel with a bunch of hoodies. So it's gonna be more of a situation that I do when I actually find a house to live in.
Speaking of which, it's funny. People think that that maybe some of your fellow competitors and you have sort of a central house that you live in or something, but I mean, a lot of times it's almost like a nomadic lifestyle, right?
I don't think that everyone lives this life that I do, but I'm also one of the very few people that's from a place that there's no, Connecticut is not, growing up in Connecticut, I was one of the only people that did what I did, and no one really knew about it. It was a really
Yeah.
foreign thing. Whereas I think every single person on my team, except for one other girl who's from New Jersey, every single person is from either Utah, California, or like Colorado or something. So they're all really close to mountains. Um, they've all grown up snowboarding from super young ages. Their families are involved, and it's just like, it's something that was common where they grew up to do, so they're kind of close to it. Whereas for me, growing up in Connecticut was not. So they all have kind of home bases with their families, or they decided that they want to also live in that area. But for me, I don't have a home base. I'm too indecisive. I don't know where I want to live yet, so I'm just living kind of Airbnbs and friends' houses and stuff like that until I figure it out. But I'm kind of ready to settle into a spot because I'm kind of over packing and unpacking my truck.
I can imagine. Oh my God. Now,
Yeah.
now, do you mentioned Westport, Connecticut earlier, and tell me a little bit about what you and your dad did as a project, and how old you were when you did that?
Um,
The,
what do you mean?
the
Oh,
building that you made.
the ramp. Okay, yeah, yeah. I'm really, yeah. One of my other hobbies outside of drawing is building. I really like to work with tools, and Home Depot is like one of my favorite places. I just love going in there and finding new things to build. But
Nice.
yeah, we never really had power tools in our house. And then as I started getting older, we had a 2-car garage, and then
Yeah.
one of the cars always was outside because I made the other section my workshop basically, and I filled it up with power tools, and then I ordered the skate ramp, and my dad joined me in the project of putting it all together, which was really fun. It was 3 weeks, me and him just kind of working together, putting this thing up, and yeah, it was a fun bonding moment, and it was really fun to see just the outcome. We built this half pipe basically in my backyard. I might even have a photo of it. I
That's
could
pretty.
show, but
That's pretty wild. So then, what would you do? Would you ice it or snow it? I mean, what do you put on it to make it?
it was just a skateboard ramp. That, you
Oh,
know,
got
when
it.
like for skateboarding, not
Mhm.
not snowboarding. Yeah, unfortunately didn't have really the surface, the backyard to be able to do um, a snowboarding setup because it was too flat. But I don't think I can find a. Oh no! Oh yeah, here it is. For everyone that's not sure what I'm talking about, it's like a skateboarding ramp. Oh no, we're not gonna be able to see it.
Oh,
Well,
that's
kind
wow.
of.
Look at that. Yeah, I can see
It's
that.
like a half pipe. So like
Yeah.
yeah, it took
Wow.
some time, but it was really fun.
All right. So I mean, now I know who to call in case I want something built in my backyard. That's pretty awesome. I'm not calling your dad. I'm
Yeah.
calling you. I mean, yeah. And then I have a Home Depot nearby, so we'll go pick up some tools and we'll get to work on that stuff. That's pretty
Perfect.
awesome.
Yeah, I could
See,
help you
your
out.
your post career is all set. And I love it. But speaking of that, so look, you mentioned earlier that there's a lot of younger, up and coming boarders and competitors, right? And the sport is typically skewed younger, but there's also been some that have competed at a fairly older age. Have you thought about, like, is there in your mind, gee, I want to do this until I'm 32 or whatever the amount is, or not really?
I don't know. I haven't. I don't think I want to do it that old. Honestly, I think I might. It's hard for me to say.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe I'm gonna still do it if I decide I want to, but there are other things that I really love and have interest in, as I've mentioned a few of them, and I feel like at that age, it's going to start being harder to keep up just because
yeah,
the sport is progressing exponentially, and there's these younger kids, like I was saying, they just don't care. They're so fearless. They are willing to throw themselves off of a jump and do anything. And with the rise of more kids like that, as I'm going to start getting older, it's going to start being much more of a grind to keep up with. So I'll see where I'm at, but um, yeah, like my friend Jamie Anderson, she stopped competing at 31, I think. Well, she had a child, but she would have kept going if she didn't have the kid, which is really cool because she was not only was she one of the older ones, but she was still one of the ones on top
yeah, yeah,
in the mix with all these younger ones. So she was still really pushing, but now, like nowadays especially, it's really starting to pick up. It's, big tricks are coming into play, tricks that no one thought that girls would be doing, which is really cool to see. But yeah,
Well,
it's
it's got to
great.
be so exciting for you to be almost like I mean, you're not one of the pioneers necessarily because it's been around for a while, but I mean, you've been part of the huge growth, and it's got to be very exciting for you to see all the new people coming into it. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think it's um you know back then, back when snowboarding was kind of first getting started, and when competing was more of, I mean, snowboarding was really popular too back in the days, but the things that they were doing were so much less than what we're doing now.
Yeah,
It's crazy. You could do two 360s and you'd win 100 grand in a car. Now it's like even the girls are doing what the guys were doing like 6 years ago. Like a guy's winning run at an event 6 years ago is what the girls are doing, which is really, really just, I don't think anyone thought it could get to this level. I think no one knew like what humans were capable of doing on snowboards, especially the guys too. The guys are doing some crazy stuff that people are blown away about. So
well, you know what it is that because to be better in your sport, you need to keep adapting. You need to keep on learning something. It's got to go
yeah,
one level up always, right? It's
exactly.
not like a baseball game where it's been the same baseball field, same baseball, the same glove for 100 years, and you're competing as a team. Here, you need to constantly have
Yeah,
one more thing up your sleeve. So
exactly.
as you head towards, I'm assuming, I mean, should I assume you're planning on being the next Olympics? How would it? Well,
Yeah, it's safe to say that for now, I think.
what is that, like an announcement, like announcing the presidency or something? Where like we're not supposed to You know that? Of
I
course
don't know.
you're
I'm
gonna
living
be
day
there.
by day at this point.
Oh, you're gonna be there. And well, you have to, only because like I need a reason to stay up all night, like I did. You know, no, what was it when it was? I was trying to remember what time it was when you competed at Beijing, but I did watch that. I don't know if it was live, but whenever it was broadcast here, I was watching that, and I know obviously your dad was too, and it was pretty exciting. That was, I
Mhm.
mean, you were the first medalist at the Winter Olympics. So that was,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I think I probably will, just because, it's going to be in Italy, which means a lot to my family. It'll be finally, my family will be able to come watch, which will be
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Prada would be it would be really important for Prada. Um, there's a few reasons why I should definitely do it, but it's crazy because I feel like the last Olympics just happened, but it's already been a year, which is wild. Because I actually feel like it was like just a couple months ago. So I don't know. It's coming up quick again. Time is going so quickly.
Time does fly, trust me, and you'll always hear that. But one of my final questions here. Tell me what you were feeling when you were on the Olympic podium. You're there. You're standing on the podium, and what was going through your mind? Was it? Well, tell me what was going through your mind.
um, I think a lot of it was just like I can't. I was just really happy, honestly. I was, because as I mentioned, I was going through that time where I was not really into it anymore. I was getting kind of scared, and I had to pull myself out of that. Obviously with the help of like the psychologist and stuff, but a lot of it was on my own. Like a lot of it was just self kind of like letting go of the feeling of like, oh, poor me, and the stress and this and that, and just kind of like being done with feeling that way and wanting to work hard and wanting to grind and wanting to learn new tricks and having a goal and setting a goal of being on the podium. So like achieving that goal was just like the relief of achieving it, and also thinking like, I can't believe a couple months ago like I wanted to stop doing this. Like this is an amazing feeling. Like being up on this podium is such a good feeling, and this is why I do it, and this is why I'm going to keep doing it. So
That's so
yeah,
exciting.
that's
It's funny that you say that, because I think whether you're an athlete at the top of your game, or an entrepreneur, or anybody in any sort of facet, we all have our ups and downs, right? And there are times when you're in that valley and you're thinking, oh man, why am I doing this? And having that, you're an Olympic medalist, and you will be for the rest of your life. And it's something that, I hope you hold on to. I'm sure you will hold on to it. Well, maybe you'll win a gold next time. But that's phenomenal. All right, I want to switch real quick to one thing I wanted to ask you about on the business side of things, because again, you need to be almost like your own business manager and sponsor, all this other kind of stuff. Now, I'm assuming you want to or would listen to additional people that want to sponsor you, or how do you go about finding that stuff, or do they kind of find you?
Well, I have an agent who does kind of her own scouting in terms of the typical brands, like, outerwear, um, just product stuff. But there's also, my dad has been a huge um, factor in finding in just like business relations, because he's just such the guy can talk forever and make friends out of nowhere. Like he has all these friends that I don't. We'll be like on vacation. He's like, oh, I just met this great guy. Like, and he's so and so, and now we can go do this cool thing because I met him. Like he's just so good at networking that he's really brought me into that too, which is awesome. So sometimes he'll have a couple friends that do something that's not really in terms of product related stuff. That's more like, I don't know, maybe like banking, and then companies like that are interested in working together. So it's cool. Like I kind of get a little bit best of both worlds with my agent and with my dad on my side, who's just awesome.
He, yes, he. It's funny, and it's a great story about how he and I met too. But it's the same thing where it was kind of like two of those forces in the same room. It was pretty funny. And but he's obviously, So excited to hear and to watch you as you continue on with your career. And you remember I did mention this product right here to you. We got to get you going
I
on this
know.
stuff here.
I feel so bad. I completely like I'm running around so much. I connected with him and then he was like, I'm in Park City, and then I just wasn't there at the time, and I gotta make it happen.
We'll make it happen. It's okay. But listen, one more. I know that Scott had mentioned in the Q&A section over there that he was mentioning that many Olympians win medals, deep into their 30s and so forth. I think the key thing though is it's less about age and more so just about where you are here and if you still love doing it, right? And I mean, look, some of the Olympians, they don't want to leave because they're still really at the top of their. I mean, look at Michael Phelps, and he won a bajillion gold medals, but he still wanted to do it. Like he still had to do it.
Yeah, I don't think it really has to do with age, honestly. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can't be 70 and doing this stuff, but like, I think people really thought like, oh, 30s is like too old to be doing these things. Like in your 30s, you should, and I think it kind of just became like a common theme for like athletes once they got to that age to like start retiring because they hit their 30s. I don't think that's not my feeling on it. It's just like what kind of interest I'll develop at that time, and if I'm still going to be into it, or if I just want to be someone that gets to continue to progress the sport, but in a different way. I don't know. Like, I'm so, just like I don't know where I want to live, I don't know what I'm doing later. So it's the same thing. I'm just kind of going with the flow of things.
Continue to go with the flow. There's no rush on any of that stuff. It'll happen when it happens, kind of a thing. And, I think that, just make the most out of every day. And it's great to see and hear how you're evolving, just even the last couple of years. So I think you're on a great path for sure.
Thank you.
Look, I want to make sure that next year I can also bring you back here again, and I can still say that you're the Crystal Globe winner again to being the world's best. That'd be a slopestylist. Is it slopestylist or slopestyler?
I don't know. Slopestyle rider, I guess.
Thing. Yeah. Where's that Crystal Globe? Is it there or somewhere else?
No, it's not here. I sent it back with my mom just because I don't have the space in my truck to have to take care of a delicate.
I know. I was gonna say, yeah, put it somewhere else.
That thing would have been broken by now. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I kept it.
I gotcha. Because it's the off season now, or we're entering the off season, I guess. But what do you do to continue your training during the off season?
Well, there's actually a lot of places in the that we can still go to. I usually take June and July and most of August as like my true summer time, just to do other things, because traveling for snowboarding, it's pretty draining just because like I said, you can't just go and do it wherever. You have to, it's a big thing to go do. So I really like to take the time to do, pursue other hobbies and interests that I like and spend time with family. But pretty much from, I would say, I'll probably go to Australia in August, and then maybe somewhere in September. And then the season kicks off in October, and it pretty much goes all the way through May. And this May, I'm actually going to Mammoth in a couple days from now. Mammoth had its record-breaking year of snow. So they're going to have snow until July, and I'm going to ride there the whole month of May, take June and July to go camp with my sister, and then go to Australia in August. And yeah, there's ways to stay on the board, but there's also times when you'll have like a month or two of just downtime, which is nice.
Good. Work on your art, right?
Exactly.
Cool. Well, listen, we're going to jump back. Thanks so much again for being here. Really appreciate it, Julia. And we'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.